Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really powerful idea that honestly applies to just about everything, the hidden blueprint. We're going to see how simple, underlying structures are the absolute key to turning chaos into clarity.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Does this sound familiar to you? You're just swamped with articles, data, messages from work, social media. It feels like a constant flood, right? It's so easy to feel completely overwhelmed, like you're not really grasping any of it.
But what if there's a way to cut through all that noise? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on three very different blueprints. Think of them as powerful mental models that organize information, turning all that confusion into genuine understanding. So first up, let's take a look at the academic world. I mean, how do you take a massive, complex topic and build a clear, persuasive argument about it? It all starts with a blueprint. You know, one of the most common blueprints that use is the case study. And as this guide from the University of Arizona Global Campus points out, a case study isn't just some report. It's a really structured method to investigate a problem, weigh all the options, and then propose the best solution, all while backing it up with solid evidence.
So, how does this blueprint actually work? Let's use Starbucks as our example. The structure is super methodical. First, you've got to lay the foundation, right? You understand the company's background, its mission, its competitors. Then you move on to the analysis, where you examine specific things like its HR practices. And finally, you use all that analysis to build to a conclusion, in this case, how its investment in its partners gives it a real competitive edge. You see, it's a totally logical flow from context to details to insight.
Now, what's so cool about this slide is that it shows this supportive evidence part in action. The argument isn't just someone's opinion, it's anchored in real academic research. This quote connects the idea of employee identity directly to company performance, and that's what gives the entire case study its strength and credibility. It's kind of like the foundation holding the whole building up. Okay, so that's a blueprint for building a clear argument. But let's pivot to a completely different challenge. What if your goal is the exact opposite? Not to make information transparent, but to make it private and secure. All right, let's move on to our second blueprint. And this time, it's from the world of Bitcoin. Here, structure isn't just helpful for clarity, it's an absolutely non-negotiable, rigid process that transforms data to make it secure. So in Bitcoin, your public key is sort of like your public account number. The very first step in this security blueprint is to transform it through a process called hashing, which is like running it through a digital shredder that always produces the same unique, jumbled-up output. This creates what's called a public key hash, or a PKH. And the benefits are immediate. It's shorter, which saves space, and it adds this extra layer of security. And this slide shows that rigid structure perfectly. It's not just one step. For maximum security, the public key is first run through the SHA256 hashing algorithm. Then, the output of that gets immediately run through a second, totally different algorithm called RIPEMD160. This two-step process, using two independent algorithms, creates that final, much shorter, and more secure public key hash. So, here's the crucial point. While this hash is amazing for the system, it's terrible for us humans. It's just a long string of random-looking characters. If you're sending money and make a single typo when you're typing in the recipient's PKH, those funds are digitally burned. They are gone forever. No getting them back. To solve this huge problem, another brilliant blueprint was created, Base 58 check. This is a multi-step process designed purely for safety. A virgin number gets added, then a 4-byte checksum is calculated and stuck on the end. Now, this checksum acts as a built-in error detector. The whole thing is then encoded into a more human-friendly format called Base 58, which avoids confusing characters like 0 and the capital letter O. The final result? A Bitcoin address that will actually reject a typo. It's a structure built entirely to prevent human error. Okay, so we've seen blueprints for arguments and for security. For our final example, let's look at a blueprint for finding meaning in a sea of raw numbers. Let's talk about the blueprint for insight. Just imagine a spreadsheet filled with student data, test scores, grades, language backgrounds. On its own, it's just a chaotic mess of numbers. To get any real answers out of it, the very first step is to apply a clean, predictable structure. And this is what that structure looks like in a statistical program like SPSS. All of a sudden, the chaos is gone. Every single row is a unique student, and every single column is a specific variable, like their grade or their language group. This is what the source material calls an analysis-ready spreadsheet. It's the blueprint that makes all the analyses possible in the first place.
So why does this matter so much? Well, it's because once the data is in this structure, we can start asking it questions, simple questions, that were totally impossible to answer before. For instance, we can ask, hey, how many English language learners are in 3rd grade compared to 4th grade? And boom, with just one click, the structured data gives us a crosstabs table just like this one. The answer appears instantly, 42 in 3rd grade, 42 in 4th. This simple pattern was completely hidden in the noise until we applied the blueprint. So we've looked at academic writing, cryptocurrency, and data analysis. I mean, 3 completely different worlds, right? But there's a powerful universal idea that connects them all. It's this single concept of the blueprint. We saw one for arguments that structures evidence to persuade somebody. We saw one for security that structures data transformations to create safety. And we saw one for insight that structures raw numbers to reveal hidden patterns. See, all 3 are doing the same fundamental thing, creating order and meaning out of pure chaos. And that leads to the big takeaway here. In our world of constant information overload, the real skill isn't just about consuming more information faster. It's about learning to see the underlying structure, the blueprint, that gives all that information its meaning and its power. And so that leaves us with a final question for you. Think about your work, your studies, or even your hobbies. What complex area of your life could suddenly become crystal clear if you could just find its hidden blueprint? Thanks for watching.